Today, I have the beautiful Korynn joining us here today on Free to Be Yourself. Welcome, Korynn. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
So happy to have you here. So Korynn and I met on the gram, on Instagram. What did we say it was, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was in 2019, so about 2 years now.
Yes, 2019. And I found Korynn when I was in my questing for more, I would say, tools in my toolbox to really make sense of all of the things that were coming up for me in my life and the big decision that I was going to be making at that time. And when I came across you, first of all, I was captivated just by all of your postings, your energy, loved your hair, loved your whole look, and you are a writer as well. So, but it was human design that drew me to you. And you offered a course that I took, a beautiful online course that I could delve into my own human design. But what I would love to do is just to give our listeners and our viewers just a moment just to connect with you, Korynn, and for you just to share about yourself and this journey thus far for you.
Yeah, actually, we'll come back. I wanted to come back because you said something about where you were in your lifetime when you came upon human design and my work, because I've really found this pattern of being able to help women through transitions in their lifetime. And so being a woman of transition so many times in my lifetime, I've lived in many different places, different countries. Yeah, we're a nomadic family, and gone through divorce and grieving the death of my best friend and going through perimenopause. Like all of these transitions that happen in a woman's life, and so I'm just kind of wondering where you might have been on your journey when you came upon my work, and we can come back to that. But I did find that, and I started my human design journey about 6 years ago, and I didn't really appreciate it at first. I didn't really understand it. It was presented to me by someone who didn't really know a lot about it, and so I didn't resonate with it at all. It was kind of like, oh, this is a kind of weird chart thing that I don't really understand. And you're telling me that there's these things about myself that that seem like, okay, yeah, they could be true, but she didn't really have she wasn't really in tune with reading charts, and so she was just kind of repeating information that someone else had given her about my chart, and I think that's probably why it didn't resonate. But mostly it was about the strategy of being a projector. I'm a projector, and the strategy in human design is to wait to be invited and to take action on things. And so I was like, no, this isn't, I'm not going to just wait to be invited to do anything in my life. This is not cool. So I kind of just wrote it off. And then as we were working together, as I was working with this woman more, I realized that she was coaching me on these things from her perspective as a manifesting generator, who is the most high energy type in human design. And I was like, well, I thought that I have this different energy, so shouldn't I be doing things a different way? And so I realized, like, okay, maybe this does really resonate. I'm starting to see how this applies to me. So, I started the journey 6 years ago, and then just kind of chipped away at learning more and more about it. And then I just finally decided to just completely go down the rabbit hole with it. And it was just so helpful for me while I was going through nearing the end of my marriage and going through divorce and these really difficult times. And so it's just been such a blessing to feel like I had a sense of who I am and tools to use based on like what my patterns are to work through these difficult times in my life. So
That's so beautiful. And
yeah, it's brought me to where I am now.
yes, it is. And I know, and I'm going to, of course, I put these in the show notes, and I'll probably do a little blip about human design before. But let's give our listeners, for those that don't even know one thing about human design, what is your go-to description of the science of it?
Yeah, so there are many different perspectives, and I think the most common perspective is that it's a map of who you are. And I've for a long time liked to say that it's like a modern mind-body assessment tool that tells you, you know, patterns and things about your lifetime. So it's based on a synthesis of different things like the Chinese I Ching, the Hindu chakra system, the Judaic Kabbalah, and quantum physics. And you can see that there are certain things like Chinese medicine brought into it. And so it really is, and this is one of the things that I really have always loved about it, is that it shows that there is so much parallel or overlapping or dovetailing, I guess, between all of these different modalities that could be spiritual and physical, and brings them together and make them understandable together, rather than these just separate things or modalities that someone can specialize in that don't seem to be related, when they all do have some relationship to one another.
They do. Yes, and astrology too.
Yes.
That's a big component.
Yes.
And that's why we need people's time of birth and the city and state, because it reads the energy 6 months prior to when we come into when we were born. So that's the red in the chart, right?
So the red is the 3 months before you were born?
3 months. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. See, I'm just throwing out 6 months. Yeah. So 3 months. And then the black is the time you were born on. That's what is true to self. So
yes.
So there's 5 types. There's you said you're a projector. Then there's the manifesting generator, which I am. Reflectors. Who have you met a reflector?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So go ahead and maybe give just like just a brief description on the 5 types.
Sure. Okay. So I'll start with the manifestor, because the person who downloaded the system, Ra'uruhu, he was a manifestor. And so they are here to initiate on things, to get the ball rolling, to get ideas, and to start things, to get things started. So a lot of us in life are taught to be manifestors,
Yes.
to just go out there and get what you want, do the thing always. Not all of us are designed to be that, but manifestors are, and they are a very small percentage of the population at 7%. And so we start with the manifestors because they're here to start things.
Yes.
And then we have the generators, which you are a generator, and generator types are here to follow through and to master things. So this is a working energy. So you have more working energy than, say, a manifestor would have, because a manifestor starts things, a generator picks up the project and follows through on it and does the work to get it to manifest, actually. So a lot of times I like to say that generators are actually the manifestors, because they're the ones doing the work to manifest the thing into physical form or project or whatever. So yeah, those are generators. And then We have the manifesting generators, who are kind of a combination between manifestors and generators, but they aren't really here to initiate. They have a creative process like a manifestor has, but they ultimately still are a generator type. So they are here to follow through things to mastery as well.
Yes.
They are really great multitaskers, so they can likely get more things done than any other type. Most people I know who are manifesting generators are like superhuman. they don't burn out as quickly.
Mm-hmm. I have very close friends of mine are them, and I'm like, wow, what they do in one day, I'm like, there's no way. So
and then we have the reflectors. So I'll go back to projectors, which is my type. Projectors are here to guide the process of creation. So a manifestor gets an idea, the generator picks it up and follows through on the idea. The projector guides the process. So projectors are here to be wise and knowing about energy and to guide that energy. The reflector type is kind of like the compass, so or the barometer. So they're reflecting back, not necessarily through words, but just by their being there. And we have to really be in tune with this type, because they might not be speaking what they're seeing or feeling, and they're just kind of a reflection of what's actually happening. Is this dynamic actually healthy, or is it not working out so well? Is it crumbling? So a lot of times this can show up in their health, and so their health can be a reflection of what's actually going on around them. So their environment is really important to them.
That's fascinating. That's why I said I have not yet met a reflector that I know of, and because I just think it would just be a very engaging in their energy, like, because they reflect back, what is happening, because they're all open in their chart, right? They don't have any definition. And so being a projector and then lining up with this for your path, being a guide, a spiritual guide basically is what you are and what you do. And then with your writing and being intuitive and really stepping into your dharma. So that is, so you would say, like, looking back, maybe this happened for you, you're freeing yourself, or when did you feel the most free in your life?
Whew. That's an interesting question, because that's always been like such a huge value for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like to an extreme point, because it's caused me to kind of just follow whatever has made me feel less trapped, or just more free to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
But there's always been conditions, or I don't know, situations haven't always been perfect. And so I don't know, when I felt the most free, it was probably the moment that I quit my job in Chicago and moved to Hawaii with my daughter. And
just the two of you?
Yeah, just the two of us.
Wow. How old is she, or how old was she then, and how long ago was that?
That was in 2012. And oh man, how old was she? She was in first grade, so however old that is.
Yeah, that's such a that is a huge leap. That's a huge leap.
Yeah, it was kind of.
Were you terrified? Was there fear in that, or were you, no? Look, you're just like, I'm doing it.
Yeah, it was very like I felt like it was coming. Like I was kind of planning. I had gone to visit friends like multiple times a year for the first 2 years before that, just kind of feeling it out. I was working at a job that was a really great job. It was actually a very good job in nonprofit and in government as well. And so I had a lot of time off work, government benefits, lots of time off work and time to travel. And we were living in probably the best neighborhood in Chicago, and my daughter was going to a good school that she had gotten a scholarship to go to. And so from the outside, it looked like I was living a pretty good life. But I have a hard time going to work at the same job every day from 9 to 5. As a projector, that is not correct for me.
Yes.
And I didn't know that at the time. But my soul was wilting away in this process. So I ended up going to this coaching seminar that I had been teaching classes at for a few years by then, and just doing the work myself for once. And I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm going. So I made the decision, and then 2 months later, we were on a plane to go to our home.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And so I heard you speak of divorce in there. And that was, talk to us about that, because that is, you asked when I came to you, at what point was I?
Yeah.
I was right before I made the decision to leave my marriage of 15, 16 years. And I needed more clarity. I needed confirmation. That was what was already kept coming to me in my soul, my higher self. And so when I discovered you and then learned that I was a generator, just knowing my type, knowing that I needed to be constantly moving towards things that light me up because of my sacral authority. We also have our authorities, which we can go into too. I saw what was happening to me, because I was already feeling it on a physical level, like how I was not listening to my body. My body was shutting down. I was not active in the sacral. So that means there wasn't a lot of connection with my husband, and a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors. And it gave me so much freedom. And I'm going to use the word freedom because that is a thread throughout my messaging. It's all of a sudden something told me it's okay to be me. Like, it's okay that I desire these things and I can move past this. So I just want to say thank you. Yeah. Because it was 8 months after I took your course, and then I learned it, and then I started implementing my own readings, which I blend tarot with human design, and then I do a whole intuitive spread with people. So just kind of giving them touch points on that. So yes, it is.
Yeah. So I'm so glad that you've taken something from that and run with it, because I think I'm really here more to teach people to do that versus doing a lot of readings with people. I have tried doing that for a while, just doing one-on-one readings, and I still do them, but rarely. But I really do love to be able to give people the tools to do the work with other people. So I'm glad that you did, and I had a good time for you. And I think that they come when you need them. The tools show up.
Absolutely. And the people, yes, our guides show up, and you to me were one of my guides, so, and that, so we were going to go a little bit into my chart, and you were going to share with me. You go in there and you see what comes to you. So
Okay.
And also we can tie this into why would people want to contact us to have a reading? Like, and I know we're touching on some of this right now. And so this is helping them understand more of what a reading would look like.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I know people can't see your chart, but I'll just give an overview that's for someone who might not know what the heck human design is.
Yes, that's right.
So, like I said before, human design, it can be looked at from several different perspectives. And I don't anymore buy the idea that this human design chart is telling you who you are. And I know that I said that it made me feel that way many times. But at this point in my life, I've had a lot of people say, well, aren't I a whole person? Why is this chart saying who I am? Who is this to tell me who I am? And I really started to question that. And I realized this doesn't tell you who you are. You are who you are. And you are a whole human being. So I just want to preface that with what I'm about to say with that.
I love that. That's very, that's very freeing to hear that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. So the chart itself is kind of so if anyone's taken like the Myers-Briggs test or done like the Enneagram, they answer a bunch of questions and then they kind of get like a type that's like spit out and give them some information about their type. So like we said before, in human design, we use the date of birth and the time of birth and place because it is based on astrology in that way. And
Yes.
And so because of that, I feel like it does give you a level of depth, like a depth that you wouldn't necessarily get by answering questions and getting results based on the questions that you answer a certain way in that moment. As we change a lot. We're not always the same. We wouldn't answer questions the same way all the time. So I think that
I've always thought that about those tests. I'm like,
yeah,
because especially if they're multiple choice, and I'm like, today I feel like saying this or that. So yes, that's a good way to clarify that.
Yeah. So, however, I view the human design chart like it shows you inclinations that you may have throughout your lifetime because you've been tuned like an instrument to resonate with these things, these archetypes. So these patterns. And you've been tuned by like imprinting so the planets when they're in transit, so hopefully this isn't too confusing. When they're in transit, they do have an effect on us. Like Mercury is in retrograde right now, right?
Yes, they do. That's why I prayed over our technology before we started this.
Right? So 3 months before you're born, when you're still in the womb, there's an imprint. There's a tuning to where the planets were in 3 months before you were born, right? And then in the moment that you're born, there's another tuning. So that's why we have the two different sides, the right side being the black, the moment that you're born, and the red side being 3 months before. So with all of that said, going back to your chart, you're a generator type because in those moments that you were imprinted or tuned, you had these notes that were lit up, like your body or your instrument has been tuned to play this certain note, right? And that's in the gate 3410. That's a channel that's taking you from the heart to the sacral. And that's what makes you a generator, having that sacral center lit up, that note being played. So you have an inclination to being able to work for longer hours and like you said, needing to be be doing what is lighting you up.
Yes.
Because the sacral is meant to, it's the center for life force energy. And so you need to be having a thriving, vibrant life force energy to be able to work for.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can look back at multiple times in my life where the work I was doing was not lighting me up, and it was more of a, I should be doing this. You know, I should be working for a friend, help with this business, get this certain dollar amount, or whatever was happening in my life that I chose to say yes to. The depletion, the exhaustion, the frustration, because that's one of my things too, is I did not have the energy for it. So when I lined up with this correct work for me, which is my gift of healing and being a light worker, it is unbelievable when I'm doing the work, when I'm in it, how I am so inspired, so fueled, and so able to continue on. And so that lets me know that I am right where I'm supposed to be. I'm not saying I don't have days I get exhausted and all of that kind of stuff, because I have to take care of myself and my energy. But so for any of you out there who are, you know, you're up against that resistance of, you know, hitting the grind every day and thinking you have to be in this particular line of work, you actually can take a time out and question that. What is your soul calling you to do? What would you do if you take the dollar amount away? Like, what is it that lights you up to go after and go do? So that's what I help people with, is discovering their purpose, their dharma. So
that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the sacral center is just it's a very magnetic force. So it's because you have this as your authority, and we can talk about authorities, like you said you wanted to go into that a little bit, as your inner authority being the sacral. This is how you make decisions. And so when something feels like a visceral yes in your body, in your gut, that's when you know it's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
So as a generator type, and if anyone, you know, gets their chart and sees that they're a generator or a manifesting generator, they'll know that they have that sacral gut feeling. And because a lot of us say, like, very in passing, like, trust your gut, trust your gut. But for a generator type, this is actually very true. Trust your gut.
Yes. Yes.
And it's a visceral feeling. If you tune into that feeling in your body, and a lot of times it can be difficult for generator types to get out of the head, because we say trust your gut all the time, but we're really taught to be logical, right? To think. And so for the generator type especially, this is not the case. You do need to drop down into your body and feel what feels actually true for you.
So, and this is where, for me, anxiety came in, and it was when I was out of alignment, when I was going basically off my path, is I would be flooded with so much anxiety. And I know it was to basically course correct me, get me back on course. And so for any of you out there who are, you know, experience anxiety, that is actually a gift for us to take a moment, many moments, it actually can be debilitating, and to see what is it that you are going against yourself, and that you are pushing through something that maybe you shouldn't, you know, you're just not in alignment. And so I just wanted to touch on that, because these lower vibrations that we go through, these lower energies, you know, like depression and anxiety and, you know, all of that, we get stuck in the mind, right? Like we feel like we have to figure it all out up here, or we can rationalize rationalize it, yeah, but this is happening, or yeah, I should be doing this. But yet you're just ailing away and making yourself anxious or sick or getting depleted. So have you experienced that in your life where you weren't in alignment with yourself? And
Yeah.
what helped you to get back into alignment?
Well, I can say that for most of my life, depression has been a part of my life. Not every year, or even
Mm-hmm.
just it's come up a lot. And I think that is probably because my mother had depression and anxiety, and I got mononucleosis when I was like 14 years old, which mono is like,
Yeah.
yeah, so which is actually a splenic thing. If the mono gets too bad, the spleen can rupture. And I'm a splenic projector, which is interesting because my body was telling me
Yes.
you need to slow down at 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But so with that, when I was 14, I had literally slept for like a whole month, and it was kind of just a signal that I really needed to rest. And I wasn't allowing myself to do that because I was raised by two very high energy parents, manifesting generator parents.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an expectation that I needed to get it together and do, and work. And going against that, it caused a lot of repressed emotion and energy, and that caused a lot of depression in me. And I saw that as a pattern, like each time that I experienced depression in my lifetime, it's when I'm repressing this feeling of I should be doing this, I'm supposed to be doing this, and so I'm going to go do that, but I'm feeling like I really need to rest. I think it was Jim Carrey. I saw this thing that my yoga nidra teacher told me. He said it was like, depression is your body telling you that it's tired of the character that you're trying to play, and it needs deep rest. Depression means deep rest, like it needs rest.
Yes.
So I've experienced that many times in my life, and I think as I get older, anxiety has played a part too, just because I'm a very sensitive person. And
Mm-hmm.
the past year and a half with COVID and all these other things that have happened in my life, I feel like it's just been fertile ground for anxiety.
It has. I mean, it really has. And a lot of it is, having the time to just sit with yourself, not having all the activity that we can distract with. Not saying you can't get distracted in your own home, but during quarantine. And yeah, that's actually when so 2 months prior to when we all shut down is when I left my marriage. So I began this, being a new single woman during the quarantine. I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And it actually was quite perfect for me, having all of that time and time of reflection. And definitely, a big thing for me was seeing people out, like, because of the community. I live in a small town, small community, and with me leaving was a disruption to what looked like and it was a beautiful family, but it caused a lot of grief for others.
Yeah.
By me choosing myself. And that's
I can resonate.
You get that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you leave your marriage?
Yes. Several times.
Yes.
But
Yes.
ultimately it was my decision to leave, and that was, yeah. But at the last moment where it was completely final, I experienced a lot of pushback from people who weren't even involved in my marriage. So it was interesting. But it did, yeah, it caused a lot of grief for me and my daughter, just because I think the way that it was before we separated was just so difficult. It was pretty tumultuous, and then recovering from that
Mhm.
was pretty difficult for us. Um, and then, just the people who weren't necessarily involved in my marriage, but excuse me, weren't necessarily involved, but they were, family members, and mostly family members. Uh, there's just a conditioning that we have in our family to just tough it out, and so
Yes.
they felt this grief they were grieving my marriage, but for them.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You step away from what is the norm for everybody. It's predictable. It's the family unit, and it does affect everybody. But it is interesting once that break happens. Those who you thought you had relationships with, how it's not there anymore. And for me, it is because I have caused pain. I've caused pain to my ex in a way because I did hurt him by choosing not to stay, and also the things that I did in the marriage to. It was more of a seeking, and I do talk about this. There's moments I'm going to feed this throughout these podcasts, is talk about my infidelity. And it's something that I am releasing the shame around. I have forgiven myself, and I've actually have gotten a lot of healing around the whole reason why I would choose to even make a choice like that. And it came from a place of, my goodness, I mean, my youngest form of myself, just a very much seeking pleasure, but also seeking, I didn't want to be in the energy where I was. So how could I get out of this? Oh, I could go over here and be a whole new person to a different person, like escapism or all of that. So that is really what, when I made the choice to leave, before I did, I was honest and I spoke to him. I told him what I had done. And we did choose to continue the marriage and go to counseling and see if it was repairable. And for me, it was just continuing the cycle for me of shame, that I knew why I was staying. I was staying because it was a safe place for me and my boys. And I liked him and I had a love for him, but I was not in love with him.
Mhm.
So it just did not feel authentic to me. And that's a big pill to swallow when you tell somebody all of these things. And on top of it, I had the guilt of, you have taken care of me and my two sons like your own for this many years. So anyway, it was a lot to unpack. It was a lot to move through. Um, I will always speak of the grief that continues to come up. It is just because we make a choice as women to leave a marriage does not mean we do not experience loss and grief of a family and of a relationship. So,
Yeah, I can relate in ways that are similar, because with my daughter's father, we split up when she was very young, and it was it was my decision to, just cut ties and go our separate ways, and he didn't want that. Um, and so there wasn't a lot of negative talk or anything like that from his family or anything like that. It wasn't. Uh, I think I just felt this tremendous guilt because for my, because I made the decision to part ways and he didn't want to, and we had tried to make it work, and I was just like, I can't. So it's difficult, being on either end. And so and grief, there's no right way. There's no right way to grieve. And I feel like a lot of times when we're grieving, we have more judgment on the way that we're grieving than other people do.
We do.
Yeah.
And it's allowance, and it's a welcoming, just like Rumi talks about the guest house, how we are to greet all of the emotions that come, even though they don't need to stay, but welcome them as a friend, as a guest, make them comfortable, give them some tea, and then they can be on their way. And it's, I definitely, I'm very close with grief and loss, but also trust. I'm developing how to trust myself, how to trust what my desires are, and for the first time to actually care for myself and nurture myself instead of outsourcing it to others, particularly men, particularly a man in my life who I just turned 50, which is so bizarre to me that I'm halfway through life right now, and I'm literally feel like I'm learning to walk. So like in life, like, okay, this is how you do it. So you work a lot relationally. I know on your posting, and it's so beautiful. And then you tie it in with your human design, and you're such an eloquent writer, and what a gift you have with that. And so tell us more the inspiration for that, and how do you get your inspiration to fill your cup?
Well, so tying it back to to human design, there is you actually have the same profile that I have, the 2-4.
Mm-hmm.
With the fourth line profile, we tend to be good with relationships. A lot of the opportunities that we get and they come from the connections that we have with other people. So relationships have always been really important to me. Also, my moon is in Aquarius, and for some reason Aquarius people have great,
Oh, yes.
They're good at relationships and like networking and things like that.
You're very much a part of the collective and the people. Like, you are the gatherer of everybody. So yes, I love that.
I wouldn't say that I'm like the gatherer, because I am a 2, because I'm a hermit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it is true that just relationships in general have brought so many gifts for me.
Mm.
So and I see that you do have Aquarius in your chart, in your gate
My
sign.
North Node.
Oh, is it in your North Node?
My North Node is Aquarius.
Okay. Well, then that's 2. That's double. Because
yes.
3 times already. Okay, cool. But so just being a person who has lived far away from family for most of my life, friends have always been just so important to me. Connection with girlfriends mostly. After high school. I mean, in high school I was friends with a lot of boys because girls were full of drama.
Mean girls. Yeah.
Yeah, mean girls. But my girlfriends were always so important to me, and because we moved around a lot, just keeping close connections with friends and going to visit friends whenever we moved, we'd go back and visit a lot. Has always just been awesome. It's just one of my favorite things to be able to connect with girlfriends. And it's been so hard during the pandemic not being able to hug real friends.
Yes.
But we're slowly getting back to being able to do that. So I think because I've had such amazing friendships, like friends like family, and because I've had tumultuous relationships with men in intimate relationships. Um, I am just like, I feel like I'm like an expert in relationships
Yes.
because I've seen both sides of the coin in such deep ways. And I just love it. I love people.
Hmm.
And I know that the difficult times that I've had in relationships have shown me the ways that I needed to grow. Even girlfriends that we were just inseparable and we, parted ways for whatever reason. I look back at them now like I see now how I needed to grow in
Mm.
and take care of myself rather than kind of just hanging out with this person and getting so invested in this person because we have things in common and we happen to like maybe some of the same things. I don't know. Um,
Yes,
but they definitely were here. They were in my life to teach me a lesson. So
absolutely. That's something I always want to get across in my messaging as well, is that relationships, any of our relationships in our lives, whether it's intimate, the husband, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, wife, partnership, friendship, sibling, daughter, um, is all a mirror for us. It is those that are closest to us that are going to shine the light on us to let us know what we need to work on. Because where else in our human connection, but those that are closest to us can evoke in us, can trigger us, can bring the best out in us, but also maybe bring out the shadow self, the part of us that's still wounded, still hurt. And and it's okay when we move through relationships. It is okay. We are not taught this in society. We are not shared this, we were not given this in our schooling, that it's okay if you part ways. It's okay if you have a friendship and it ends. It's almost like when you're in it, you feel like this sense of guilt, like, why couldn't I have stayed longer? Why couldn't I have tried longer, made, put more effort in? But the reality is one of us have either elevated over here or over here. It's a maturing process. And actually, I think the healthier that we expand and we reach our fullest potential in this life, I think the more relationships we will move through. And it's not something to be looked at as a negative, but as a growing, as a process. So
yeah.
are you in relationship now?
Yes, I am. My partner and I have known each other since high school, and
Yeah.
so he was actually married before, and I was married before, and we kind of ended up talking and talking and talking, and then now we're together. So
Isn't that amazing?
yeah,
And
yeah.
and how different does it feel to you than what you were in
In high school.
no in your marriage, like that relationship? Like,
Oh yeah, it's so different because um well, for one, like he he has children and I do too. Before my ex-husband, he did not have any children. So it was a bit different in the way that a single person might not necessarily understand what it's like to be with a single parent
yes,
effectively.
I think that is important. Yes.
Yeah. So my partner now has 3 kids and I have 1 daughter. Um, but he had understood what it was like to be married and go through that difficult time of divorce. And so um, that's kind of what we initially connected on, just kind of talking about like our grief and what had happened and things that we wanted to do in the future and a lot of the things that we had we had connections from when we used to talk on the phone in high school. But it was just different because it felt safe. And I wish, like, we say jokingly, like, I wish we had just known this in high school and like been together, but then we wouldn't have had the journey. So at the same time, I'm grateful for the journey that I took to get here. So.
Yes. That's beautiful. That's
Yeah,
so good. Well, all of this, and so I'm just kind of feeling into right now if there's anything else. Yeah, so let's just tie up the human design part of this. So if anybody wants to book a reading with you, and I'm going to put in the show notes how to find you. You said you still do one-on-one readings?
I am doing these series of readings. So if someone wants to do a series, and that can be based on relationships or work or life purpose, things like that. And I do a series because I tend to feel like one session is just information, and I like to be able to help people integrate and to move past the idea that this is who I am, and this is what I'm stuck in, and it is okay to have desires and dreams, and for you to change your patterns. So I am offering a series of readings, and I work with groups, teams to look at their charts and to kind of see how they can work better together. And so, yeah, you can just go to the zenfemme.com and find a ton of information about human design and relationships, and so many different things that I can always relate back to human design. Yeah, you can find that on my website.
That's the Zen Femme. So it's, will you spell that out for us?
The Zen, Zen, Femme, FEMME.com.
Yes. Okay, beautiful. And like with all my guests, I love to tell them their lifetime tarot symbol. And that's why I asked you for your birthday, and which also gives you your numerology, your life path number, which you are a 9, which, my goodness, that is a very seasoned soul, my dear. You've had many lives. It doesn't just necessarily mean you've had 9 like a cat, but you have lived multiple lives. And in this lifetime, the energy that you are putting forth is the Hermit. And the Hermit is so amazing because this does come up in your profile we spoke about, which is so cool. But the Hermit is one who basically goes through periods of life to withdraw, to go within, so to gain wisdom, and to gain wisdom so much so that you're basically learning how to work with what is, and you are trekking through this snow. You see this this wise man with his beard showing the intensity of his journey and his movement. And the lantern is basically shining only 2 to 3 steps before him. And so for you, you are meant to be in this energy of not really projecting way far off in the futuristic thoughts, but to stay with what is right now. And when you guide people, and that's what it is, you are a spiritual guide. You are somebody who is here to be a way shower. And that's exactly what you're doing. So congratulations that you're in your Dharma, that you are connected to your higher self. You so are, my dear. You really have inspired me personally. I know you have many others that you've inspired, and just continuing to say yes to yourself, continuing to follow what lights you up. And it's a beautiful energy to be around. And just thank you so much for your time and for saying yes to be on my podcast here. And yeah, I'm happy to connect. So are you in Hawaii now?
No, actually, we were just in on Oahu, but we're in St. Augustine, Florida right now. Might be going back to Hawaii in July, so next month. So we'll see.
Lovely.
But thank you so much for that reading, because obviously the Hermit is in my human design chart, but I didn't know that the Hermit in Tarot has to do with being a guide as well.
Yeah.
Spiritual
Yeah.
guide.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
It
And
is. It definitely is.
to Hermit, because I always feel like I want to, but sometimes it doesn't feel like I should be always. But
Well, and it lines up with you being a projector, because that's how you are. It's restorative for you. You must have the withdrawal to basically recharge your battery, to gather it up, and then to go out, and then to share, to spread, to show, to be that way shower. So yes, I give you permission. All the naps you want, all those sitting back, reading your books, having your tea, checking out. So
awesome.
So this has been lovely, my dear. Thank you again. And everybody go check out the Zen Femme. She has beautiful Instagram posts. Go to her website, book sessions with her. I think that is such a great idea to do a package of sessions, because you're right. When I do readings, my human design readings, I tell them we're not done. Like, we're going to have to revisit the chart over and over again, because we could spend hours delayering all that information. So
yeah.
So any last parting words you'd like to share?
No, I think just going back to what you're about and what this podcast is about, just feeling free to be yourself. And I think, you asked me when I felt the most free, and I do, now that I think of it, think that recently, even though I've been in this deep grieving process because of the death of my best friend, I feel the most free to just like write fiction and just do what I want, and and take naps when I want to, and things like that. So, you know, going back to just what your intuition and your gut is telling you, just
I love that.
yeah. So thank you for pointing all those things out, because it feels good to get that feedback.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm always happy to remind you of your beautiful self. So take care, and let's connect again. We'll connect again. So hopefully all of you can go check Korynn out on the Zen Femme, and thank you again for being here at Free to Be Yourself. I appreciate if you'd leave a 5-star review, if anybody shares with a friend, family member who could really use this message. Please take time to do that, and I hope everybody has a beautiful day. And until next time, thank you so much.